Yeah, so it's a real place, Pasco, Washington,
Yeah.
and a small rural place.
There he is. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Boys on Film. Look at this. It's Raj Rudolph. Haven't seen you for ages. It seems like years.
It kind of has been years. Well, at least a year has crossed the line since we last spoke. But yeah, hi Phil. Hi everyone. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. So I think it was before Christmas, wasn't it? The last review we did together.
Yeah, I think so. And then I kind of went down into shutdown when the new lockdown happened. So I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things, really.
How are you coping with everything? I mean, it's been a bit tumultuous the last few months. I mean, especially the American news. It's been a bit crazy.
Yeah, I have to say it's been all the news of the world has been cutting into my movie time. So I'm like, okay, stop. I'm going to listen. I'm going to tune everything out and just start watching movies again, because hopefully it all has to come to pass at some point, right, Phil?
That's a very wise decision. I think you can always trust on kind of taking yourself away by watching movies, because that's how I've coped over the last year. Well, I mean, especially since March. Yeah. I'm actually got to that stage now where I can watch more films and not be disrupted by our rescue puppy, Teddy. But he's not crying as much now, so we can actually get a movie in an hour and a half usually. I think that's the limit, and then he starts screaming again.
Jacob's pretty good, my dog. He'll just sit there by my feet watching the movie. But the minute I get on webcam, you heard him.
I know, yeah, you've tempted fate.
He doesn't like me shifting attention away from him, because he's been very spoiled for the past 9 months with having 2 doggy daddies at home. So
I love it. I said to you just before we started recording, they're like petulant children when you own a dog. They just want your attention all the time.
Pretty much. We call him the starter kid, so.
Bless him. Well, hopefully we'll get to see him. If you haven't actually seen Jacob before, just scroll back and check out some of the previous videos before Christmas. I think it was the London Film Festival, wasn't it? He was taking part in that.
Yeah, he likes to pop up here on my shoulder and say hello every once in a while.
So cute. I'm so glad that you mentioned this film, because I was looking forward to seeing this and I completely forgot about it. It's an American thriller called Run, directed by Aneesh Chaganty and written by Chaganty and Sev Ohanian. Ohanian? I don't know how you pronounce Sev's surname. But yeah, it stars the brilliant Sarah Paulson, who I know you're a big fan of as well. She starred in American Horror Story and also, of course, more recently Ratched. She's done quite a lot of stuff, actually, on TV and a few movies as well. I seem to forget that she's done a lot of movie work. She was in that brilliant lesbian period drama. What was that called? Carol.
There's so many of them.
I know, yeah, that's true. But she was in Carol, which came out, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago, and that was amazing, that film. Really loved that. Yeah. It's that kind of Christmassy feel.
As I was watching this film, I kind of was pondering and thinking about her illustrious career, especially in horror, and the horror genre, and the horror-adjacent genre, and she's kind of a modern-day Jamie Lee Curtis in a sense. She's becoming a real screen queen.
I think that's where she really shines, is the real dark roles, because she obviously enjoys playing those monsters, and she's certainly playing a monster in this movie without spoiling too much. But I was really surprised to see that her co-star, who is Kiera Allen, it's actually her first movie, her first film role.
Oh, really?
I could not believe that when I read that.
I can't believe that either. Well, the scene on the roof where she's, well, you'll see if you guys watch the movie, but there was a scene on the roof where it's absolutely amazing the way she played it as a disabled person. So I'm quite shocked to learn that that's her first movie role, actually.
I think it's great that she's been picked for this role, because she has actually used a wheelchair in real life since 2014 too. So
really?
There's a real kind of authenticity to this role.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to set the scene? Tell us what the film's about.
Sure. Well, it's about a mother and daughter set in Pasco, Washington, which, fun fact, in real life is the town adjacent to my hometown in Oregon. Yeah, so it's a real place, Pasco, Washington, and a small rural place.
There he is.
Speaking of rural.
Right on cue.
It's basically we're gonna have to pause here. Yeah, it's set in Pasco, Washington, with a mother and daughter. The mother is a nurse, played by Sarah Paulson. Is she a nurse? You know why I'm thinking of a nurse? Because I'm watching Castle Rock at the moment too.
And Ratched as well.
Yeah, and Ratched, saying Annie Wilkes plays a nurse. So I'm getting all my characters confused. So anyways, she has a baby, and the daughter is born with lots of problems, and she keeps her daughter rather sequestered in the house. And it seems like they have a normal mother-daughter relationship, maybe a little bit strict and overbearing, but some parents are like that.
Yeah.
And all these little clues start to drop throughout the movie that gives the daughter a sense of something isn't quite what it seems. So the daughter starts to do a little bit of investigation and finds out Mommy really isn't the mommy she thought she was. And we'll just leave it at that because you can't tell anything more unless there are spoilers involved. But
that's the thing, isn't it, with this film especially, because it's quite crucial to your enjoyment of the film. And I think if you did say any more than that, it would be a big spoiler. I mean, we've done this before. It's so difficult actually to think about what is a spoiler and what isn't. I think with certain films, I think it's quite obvious, and I think this is definitely a film that it would be an obvious thing to actually say more detail, give more detail than what we have. Yeah. But I thought it started off really well. I thought it looked really well shot, and there was a real tension. I mean, you sent me a text just before I started watching it, because we watched it obviously in different rooms because of lockdown. But you said that it was full on tension, and you thought that I would really enjoy it. And
that's it. You love that genre tension.
I really do. Yeah, and it felt quite Hitchcockian. It felt like an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and you could see that obviously the director must have had influence from that, because obviously the score. I read somewhere that they were trying to get that kind of Bernard Herrmann style, with the strings and the violins, and it did.
Even the movie poster is a bit Hitchcockian.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's Sarah Paulson through and through, because a lot of stuff that she's done is quite Hitchcockian. I mean, especially Ratched more recently, that felt like a Hitchcock movie too. Obviously, it spread over a series. But yeah, I thought it started off really well. I think there was a key moment in the second act that I lost faith a little bit, because I felt like it wasn't really that plausible, and I guess they've got to kind of make it more dramatic for the sake of entertainment.
Do I agree with Phil?
It's the scene where they go to the movies, because her daughter says, we haven't been to the movies for a while, and she's obviously planning something, and she goes to the movies, and she does leave the cinema. She leaves the auditorium to go to the toilet, and then what happens? What follows?
I will tell you, during that whole scene, I was like biting my nails, and there's a point where there's meant to be like a little jump scare, and it scared me, and I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Absolutely, because it is a real nail biter. You do feel that tension, because there's something quite scary about kind of knowing that somebody is nearby that could be a threat, could pose danger to you, and there's something about wanting to escape, especially someone in a wheelchair as well, because obviously you've got that disability where you can't run. And I think it's that kind of dreamlike sequence as well. It's like when you have a nightmare and you're running in jelly or something, or something sticky, and you're kind of wanting to get away. It's that fear, and it really does tap into that. It does make you feel anxious.
Yeah. The only thing I was a little disappointed with, I'm like, I wish they wouldn't have done that, was the end. But I mean, it was perfectly fine. I get it. It's a nice little wrap up to the story. But other than that, I was at the edge of my seat the whole movie, and it just kind of made me miss a good tension horror movie. That's not really horror, is it? It's more of
it's thriller, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thriller. It's, I don't know, tension. If tension could be a horror, then that's it.
Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of something like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, something from the 90s or late 80s. It had that kind of feel about it, where it wasn't really that offensive. It wasn't. I mean, it certainly wasn't gory. It wasn't that violent. I mean, there was hints at violence. Sarah Paulson is always great, though. I mean, she was terrific in this, and Kiera Allen was amazing. I was so shocked to see that this was her first role.
Now that you say that, Phil, the manner in which she controlled that wheelchair was pretty impressive. I'm like, we're talking Olympic level wheelchairing. So it doesn't surprise me that she used a wheelchair in real life, because her skills were pretty impressive.
Yeah. I just felt, I mean, I don't want to, poo-poo it too much, but I just felt like it reminded me of so many other things that I think perhaps were were more intriguing, and I kind of predicted what was going to happen. Apart from the end, actually, I have to say, I mean, you say you didn't like that ending, but I was quite surprised by the end. I thought the end was quite a nice turn. I didn't predict that, but I predicted quite a lot.
It wasn't actually the whole ending. It was probably the last sentence of the movie that I was just like, oh, that's cheesy.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I didn't get that, though. I thought it was quite well done, the end. I kind of wanted to like it more, though. I was just left feeling, apart from that ending, left feeling a bit meh. As I kind of wanted to feel a bit more engaged. I think that's just because I just thought that I'd seen something like this before. But I guess it's really difficult, isn't it? When you've got a thriller like this, or even horrors, you know, there are so many tropes that directors use, and to a certain extent, I don't think you can really have anything too original anymore because everything's been done before.
Yeah, everything's 80s. They're just copying the best decade in the world, and it's fine. Bring it on. For us, it's nostalgic. To the kids, it's new. It's great. So
yeah, exactly. Because I was going to mention that earlier, is the fact that, you know, for some people this might be a real nail biter, but for me, I think because I've just been spoilt by so many horrors and thrillers over the years, and obviously I'm older as well. You get, you know, young kids, I think that would really love this because it's their kind of thing.
Yeah. And you know what? For me, with all the craziness in the news of the world right now, and, you know, all the crap that's on the news, and, you know, me feeling generally depressed about it all, this was a really nice escape for an hour and a half. And you know what? I have to say, for 2020 being the dumpster fire that it is and was, there was a lot of good movies that were put out last year, you know, and I think this is one of them. This one came out sort of, I think, mid to late November, and because of the pandemic, you know, I think it gets overlooked. So it should be coming out on PVOD pretty soon. So if you just want to get lost in it and turn off Donald Trump and the world and the pandemic for a while, just rent it, put it on, and just get lost in the film. For me, that's exactly what the doctor ordered. It's
really funny because I'm like that as well, because certain films I just get totally lost in them, even though they're quite dark. It's funny because my other half said, oh, this isn't how I want to be feeling at the moment. I don't want to feel tense and nervous and anxious, which is quite interesting because I love that. I find that quite cathartic.
It gives you energy.
Yeah, it does. You mentioned about release dates. This is a funny thing. It was scheduled to be released on the 8th of May last year to coincide with Mother's Day, which I just think is hilarious because that's so twisted, isn't it? Because obviously Sarah Paulson plays quite a deranged mother. It's not the sort of thing you want to take your mother to the cinema to see, like, for a Mother's Day experience. I just thought that was brilliant.
Are you trying to tell me something?
It was pulled because of the pandemic, and obviously a lot of other movies are having the same thing happen to them. But yeah, I think Lionsgate announced that it was going to be shown properly in cinemas when the time, you know, can happen, when it can be a safe thing.
Yeah, I think when theaters open, there's going to be a whole month of like, this is what you missed. Yeah. Hopefully it'll help revive the hanging by a thread cinema industry right now. I'm dying to go back to the cinema, Phil.
I know. I really miss it. It's like live music as well. I really love going to concerts and seeing bands perform and seeing, you know, theatre as well.
My hopes got really raised because I had opening night tickets at the IMAX for Wonder Woman 1984, which is my genre.
Yeah.
And they decided to do Tier 4 the day before, and they just shut the movie theaters down. I was so mad.
It's typical, isn't it? Can we put a score on this? Because I was thinking long and hard about scoring out of 10, and I'm going to have to go with 5, which for you might think, oh, actually, that's quite a low score, but I think it's okay. You know, there are so many plus points for me. Sarah Paulson and Kiera Allen? Yeah, Kiera Allen I thought were superb. The direction I thought was quite tight, and I think, you know, it was executed quite well, but it just felt a bit reductive to me. It felt like something I had seen before, which, again, in its defence, I think is quite a difficult thing to do with this kind of genre of movie.
For me, I'm going to go a little bit more positive and give it a 7 because, like I said before, it was exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. So I think my expectations weren't as high, but I could watch anything that Sarah Paulson is and, just be astounded by what an incredible actress she is. So for me, it's a little bit higher. I'll give it a 7.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I really thought it was going to be Sarah Paulson's film, but I think it really is Kiera Allen's film because she's more dominant, I think. I think she's got more screen time in this.
I wonder if the awards people will agree with you, Phil.
That could be an interesting turnout. Yeah, let's wait and see. It really is a popcorn thriller, though, isn't it? I think if you enjoy that kind of light-hearted, it is a bit more light-hearted than some of the more aggressive thrillers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, check it out if you haven't already. And do let us know what you think of it if you've seen it. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe because we've got loads more movies coming up and lots of festivals as well. I think there's Sundance and South by Southwest coming up. I mean, you've been there so many times.
Yeah, but this year, Phil, you and I might get to do it digitally, so fingers crossed.
Rubbing hands with glee. Can't wait.
I do like the online film festivals, especially the ones that do them very well. So does my dog. So
it's a goodbye from Jacob. It's a goodbye from Raj and myself. Thank you for watching, everyone. Over and out. We'll see you next time.
Bye.